Monsieur le Chancelier, Madame la Présidente, Monsieur le Président du Conseil des gouverneurs, la très honorable Michaëlle Jean. Madame, canadienne issue de l'immigration, journaliste auprès des réseaux francophones et anglophones de Radio-Canada, gouverneur général du Canada de 2005 à 2010 et commandant en chef des forces armées canadiennes, maintenant envoyé spécial auprès de l'UNESCO pour Haïti, vous incarnez le Canada. Car en vous se trouve synthétisée son ouverture à l'autre, sa générosité, sa tolérance, sa soif d'éducation, sa magnanimité. Née en Haïti, la très honorable Michaëlle Jean fuit le régime Duvalier. Arrivée au Canada, elle prépare à l'Université de Montréal un baccalauréat en langues et littératures italiennes et hispaniques et une maîtrise en littérature comparée. Signe de son ouverture sur le monde, elle parle couramment 5 langues et possède une vaste connaissance des questions confrontant notre planète. Early in her life, she understands that possessing a global vision means applying it locally and that learning is only valuable insofar as it can be applied to the betterment of humanity. From 1979 to 1987, while pursuing her studies, she works actively with shelters and transition homes on behalf of women and children at risk. Herself an immigrant to Canada, she puts her own experience to the service of others through aid organizations for women and families. It is in 1988 that she joins Radio-Canada as a reporter and host on news and public affairs programs such as Montréal ce soir or Le Point. In 1999, Madame Jean is asked by CBC News World to host The Passionate Eye and Rough Cuts, which broadcasts the best in Canadian and foreign documentary films. Starting in 2001, she anchors the weekend edition of Le Téléjournal. Then from 2003, anchors each day the noon edition of Le Téléjournal. The launch in 2004 of her own news affairs program in which she interviews politicians, artists, intellectuals, and visionaries consecrates her as one of the main public voices in Canada in both French and English. Sa compassion pour son prochain ainsi que sa sensibilité pour les enjeux auxquels notre monde se trouve confronté, sa compréhension des complexes mouvements qui, en ce XXIe siècle, agitent aussi bien le Canada que notre planète, font d'elle une candidate idéale pour le poste de gouverneur général. Commandante en chef des forces armées, elle porte l'uniforme pour manifester son soutien aux soldats canadiens en Afghanistan. La très honorable Michaëlle Jean représente avec élégance mais aussi avec conviction et fermeté un Canada qui aspire à jouer un rôle important sur la scène internationale. Lors d'un voyage en Afghanistan, elle déclare, et je cite, « Si intolérables que soient les conditions qu'on leur impose, les femmes de ce pays sont toujours du côté de la vie. Certes, nous, femmes d'ailleurs, avons trop tardé à entendre nos sœurs afghanes. Mais je suis là pour leur dire qu'elles ne sont plus seules. » La très honorable Michaëlle Jean symbolise à elle seule le Canada de demain. Eminent Chancellor, I present to you the Right Honourable Michaëlle Jean, a woman of extraordinary accomplishment, a tireless advocate for women's rights and education, one of Canada's most distinguished citizens, and on behalf of the Senate and the University, invite you to invest her with the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Right Honourable Michaëlle Jean, it is a great honor and a privilege for me as the Chancellor of the University to admit you to the degree Doctor of Law, honoris causa from the University of Calgary, and with it all of the rights, powers, and responsibilities. Congratulations and welcome to the family. Can we have a picture of this? Can we, over here, Douglas?
C'est formidable. Je suis très émue. President Cannon, Chancellor Dinning, my good friend Doug Black, Chair of the Board, Ms. Michaëlle, Mr. Perriton, parliamentarians, members of the Board of Governors and Senate, dear friends, chers amis. Je tiens à vous dire d'abord le bonheur pour moi d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui. Je suis infiniment touchée de l'honneur que vous me faites et j'accepte ce doctorat honoris causa en toute humilité, je tiens à le dire, mais certainement comme une marque de reconnaissance importante de mon engagement et des actions que je mène avec conviction. Vous savez, qui que nous soyons, nous avons besoin d'encouragement, nous avons besoin de validation dans les choix que nous faisons, dans les combats que nous menons. Et venant de vous, c'est un immense honneur. Ceci n'est pas un test. This is not a test, but how many of you understand French? Oh, wonderful. C'est formidable. L'italiano anche. Allora, parliamo italiano. I am adamant about the great opportunity that we have of 2 official languages in this country. It enables us, I believe, to engage with much more people in the world. When you speak French, you can communicate with 220 million people in the world. I think that it enables us also to engage in meaningful cooperation, partnership, trade, discussions and actions. And in a world that is more than ever interconnected, the more languages you speak, the broader your horizon is. And as I carried out 40 state visits as Governor General of Canada, representing our great country, it was an incredible asset to be able to engage with the people in those countries, often in their own language, in English, in French, but also in Spanish, in Italian, in Portuguese, in Creole. And it created bonds that were amazing. So I would encourage, I see more and more young Canadians coming to me and saying, oh, le français, c'est cool. French is cool. We need to seize that momentum, that openness that they are showing in their desire to connect with more people in the world, because this is part of their reality today. And we need to embrace bilingualism in our country as an incredible strength that we have. Je continue en français? Je vais y revenir. But thank you. Thank you so much. You know, conferring upon me the degree of Doctor of Laws is such an honor. I am very touched by this gesture because it comes from a world-class institution of higher learning that has always strived to inculcate the notions of civic responsibility and public good among its students and faculty. And these notions have always animated my thoughts and actions from my time as a starry-eyed student and women's rights activist in Montreal to my years as a journalist, and of course as 27th Governor General and Commander-in-Chief of Canada. And to me, the idea of helping those in need and striving tirelessly in favor of social justice, human rights, and social awareness is inextricably linked to the very act of thinking critically and the pursuit of dialogue, which are the very raison d'être, I would say, of knowledge institutions such as the University of Calgary. Your motto, I will lift up my eyes. Like my motto, breaking down solitudes, is a powerful call to action. And yours speaks directly to the need for universities to be driven by higher, more universal values that connect academic engagement with deep civic imperatives. And both mottos remind us of our responsibility to build healthy relationships, stronger communities, more compassionate societies, and a more fraternal world. And I can remember my first visit to the University of Calgary in 2006 as 27th Governor General. I spent 2 very emotional hours in a traditional discussion circle with faculty and students of the Master of Teaching program, SIXICA option, as well as elders and other members of the nation. So in the midst of rousing SIXICA songs and a beautiful ceremony in which the Grand Chief solemnly placed a traditional blanket on my shoulders, we explored the ways in which the program is preserving Aboriginal languages and culture and giving opportunities to promising SIXICA students to become instructors themselves in their community. And I was deeply touched by the gathering, for it demonstrated the power of solidarity to bring hope and opportunity to a people who, for far too long, had been mistreated, particularly through the infamous Indian residential schools, which almost eviscerated all Indigenous traditions and languages from Canada's cultural landscape. And if the schools would have succeeded, we would all have been dispossessed, all of us. Aboriginal peoples would have been dispossessed of their languages, their cultures, and their dignity, dispossessed of the precious bonds between generations, dispossessed of the handing down of ancestral knowledge, dispossessed of an ancient heritage. And non-Aboriginal peoples would have been deprived of a priceless opportunity to learn, to appreciate and share the spirit, the beauty, the wisdom, and sound of these languages and cultures. And luckily, Indigenous Canadians proved resilient and resisted this policy of mass assimilation. But as we know, the battle is not over. Countless Indigenous languages are endangered. Many, unfortunately, have disappeared. For, as I have said many times before, Indigenous cultures are the oldest and the most precious part of our collective heritage. It is therefore incumbent on all Canadians, Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal, to preserve this heritage, our Aboriginal heritage, for the generations to come. Every time a language dies, the loss is immense, not only for the community for which it is the hub of culture and identity, and also of pride, of memory, but it is a loss for us all and for humanity. It's like a fading star in the firmament of our universal heritage. You know, the ethic of caring and sharing exemplified at the University of Calgary, must be nurtured by all sectors of our society, including academic institutions like this one. Through my new foundation, which is my legacy as former Governor General of Canada, the Michaëlle Jean Foundation, I am working with young Canadians from across the country to engage them and to support their actions in their communities. And as a charitable organization deeply connected to grassroots organizations across the country, we profoundly believe in youth-driven initiatives that use the power of the arts in mobilizing our nation around innovation, creativity, active citizenship, social justice, dialogue, collaboration, and corporate social responsibility. Because we believe in a society in which everyone, everywhere can fulfill their highest aspirations. We have seen how socially innovative and effective young people's initiatives can be. They are leaders today. And it's here and now that we need to listen to their ideas, to their solutions, to situations and challenges they are confronted with. And like them, we believe in the power of the arts to heal. We believe in the power of the arts to bring peace to troubled communities. For on numerous occasions, young people have told me point blank, you know, the arts saved my life. And that's why the foundation is working to rally our creative forces around engaging underserved youth in Canada to ignite transformative change in their communities through the arts. And as many of you know also, and as it was mentioned in those very generous presentations, I'm also engaged on another front in my country of birth, Haiti. My engagement is rooted in the belief that access to education, to quality education, should never be a privilege reserved for an elite. Education should be the preserve of an entire society. And that's why I'm profoundly committed, and it is what drives me in my crusade, it's a real crusade, to help the refound, not just the reconstruction of the Haitian education system through my new role as UNESCO Special Envoy for Haiti, the country where I spent much of my childhood. And you know, if I agreed to campaign tirelessly everywhere, China, Qatar, Norway, Finland, Spain, at the European Union, in the United States, in Washington, New York. I've been traveling so much this year. It is because I can no longer bear to hear about the resilience of the Haitian people. It sounds as if they were put on this earth only to recover from one crisis, one tragedy, one ordeal to the other. Resilience is but the last resort before dying. So my dream is that we give more recognition to the Haitian people for its capacity to create, to think, to invent, to imagine, to do, to produce, and to reach beyond itself. You know, I can still remember my grandmother repeating endlessly, "Don't forget, Michaëlle, l'éducation est la clé de la liberté. Education is the key to freedom." And her aphorism still rings true in the Haiti of today. where access to quality education is everyone's first aspiration. I would say Haitians find unity in their hunger for knowledge and training. But the vast majority remains afflicted by cruelly ineffective schools. For Haitians, one of the worst calamities is that so many of the country's regions lack institutions of learning, and hundreds of thousands of children lack schooling. As you can imagine, the situation is only aggravated by last year's tragic earthquake that destroyed 5,000 schools, including 2 universities, and saw hundreds of teachers and thousands of students perish. So the task is immense. And I want to thank the University of Calgary for its contribution, really, to reinforce building capacities in Haiti. Making education accessible in Haiti is not merely a question of building new infrastructure. It requires devising national curricula, training teachers, creating academic programs, and building an entire education system that is public, universal, and of quality. So, dear friends, again, education is a matter of justice and equity that confers clear responsibilities upon the state. It also empowers citizens to become more responsible, more innovative, and less vulnerable. As the bedrock of our democracy, education allows us to challenge and deconstruct preconceived ideas about our society and about ourselves. Education enables us to be audacious in ensuring that we are never, ever afraid to dream big, to take risks, and to take a stand. Significantly, it is precisely this philosophy of giving and of making a contribution that is cultivated in a university. So let us say it loud and clear, and my grandmother would agree, universities are guardians of freedom. And they give us all the tools to make a difference in our immediate surroundings and in the wider world. Everyone here has a role to play in this regard because every gesture counts. We can all be change makers. We can all make a difference. So I encourage you all to make good on the knowledge and skills you have acquired at the University of Calgary for the greater good of all. May happiness and success find you always. Merci infiniment. Merci.